President Trump claiming that his Supreme Court nominee, Brett Kavanaugh, facing a sexual assault allegation back when he was in high school, is the one who's, quote, under assault. The President of the United States is also attacking the claims of Kavanaugh's accuser, Professor Christine Blasey Ford. This comes as Kavanaugh says he will attend Monday's scheduled hearing to help clear his name. Last night, lawyers for Ford negotiated with the Senate Judiciary Committee, saying next Thursday is the earliest date a hearing could be set. Democratic and Republican sources have told NBC News. Ford, she was only 15 years old when this alleged assault took place. She is now receiving death threats, according to her legal team, and is effectively in hiding. The Wall Street Journal reports that Kavanaugh's wife has also received several threatening emails over the past week. No one deserves this. Kavanaugh said he categorically denies Ford's claims. And in Washington this hour, a group of women who have known Kavanaugh both personally and professionally are rallying to show their support for the judge. According to the latest NBC News Wall Street Journal poll, support for Kavanaugh has ticked up a few points to 34% since July, but the number of Americans opposed to his nomination now outnumbers that. 38% of Americans are opposed. And the real issue here is hitting the midterm elections, and that is all over the country. Last night in a campaign debate, a Republican congressman from down in South Carolina decided to open up his event with a joke about sexual assault.
I thought I was going to be late. Did y'all hear the latest late-breaking news from the Kavanaugh hearings? Ruth Bader Ginsburg came out that she was groped by Abraham Lincoln. I thought I was going to have to get back there, but we don't.
Joining me now, former U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan, Barbara McQuade, and NBC News investigative reporter Ken Dilanian. Ken, I can't even believe what that dude said. All right, I want to share what Kellyanne Conway said this morning, and we want to pay particular attention to the specific time that she said it.
There's no reason to attack her. The president is defending his nominee to the United States Supreme Court as a man of character, integrity, impeccable academic and judicial qualifications and judicial temperament that he knows him to be.
But just 1 minute after Kellyanne said that, 1 minute, President Trump did exactly that. How does the White House hope to get Kavanaugh through when they can't even coordinate their own message? That's what I do not understand now. I can tell you, sources inside the White House told me on Monday, when Kellyanne went outside and said this woman should not be attacked, Dr. Ford, she should have her voice heard. She did that rogue. She did not coordinate with Sarah Sanders or the president. So maybe that's still the case. And others in the White House have told Axios, Ken, that they are trying to keep the president restrained during this, given how important it is.
Yeah, that's one possibility, Steph. Another possibility is, though, that this is coordinated in a very cynical way, because Donald Trump has a history of taking the low road on Twitter to appeal to his base, even as his White House is ostensibly trying to take the high road. And I think an important piece of evidence in all this is an Instagram post by his son, Donald Trump Jr., a few days ago, absolutely mocking this whole affair. You know, he drew a note in crayon as if to suggest this was a trivial report of a sexual assault. And we should remember here that the idea that a 15-year-old is going to report this to the FBI is ludicrous, but we do know that there's reporting in the New York Times that she was a changed person. Something happened to her. She was a gregarious, outgoing person, and then a friend said after this alleged incident, she, quote, disappeared and wasn't a vibrant part of the school community anymore, Steph.
We should note that that Instagram post that Don Jr. put out got a very positive response from a senior HUD official. How about that? All right, Barbara, Ford's legal team is negotiating with the Judiciary Committee. They're no longer asking for an FBI investigation, but they've got a few requests out. They want to ensure her safety. They do not want Christine Ford to be sitting at the table with Brett Kavanaugh. They want his friend, Mark Judge, who she claims was in the room, to be subpoenaed. Is it likely she's going to get any of this? Now, these aren't demands. These are requests.
Well, I think some of them are very reasonable, and I think will likely be accommodated. I mean, not sitting at the same table as Brett Kavanaugh, probably neither of them want that. Ensuring her safety and his, I think everybody wants that. The one that they've seemed to push back against is this idea of calling Mark Judge by subpoena and being satisfied only with his letter. I think this is a very legitimate request. When you make a false accusation, I think the last thing you would want to do is identify a witness who was in the room, who is a friend of the person you're accusing. And so this really has, I think, a lot of credibility. Let's hear what he has to say. A letter can be submitted without any penalty if his denials are false. If he is instead subpoenaed and has to appear before Congress, now his statements are under oath, and I think they carry a little more weight. Or as an intermediary, why not have the FBI interview him? Because then his statements also could be prosecuted if they're false. And so that brings with it some credibility to his denials. The fact that he's trying to get ahead of it with a letter suggests to me that he doesn't want to get involved, whether that's because he just doesn't want to be part of it, which is understandable, or because he doesn't want to make these statements under oath, I think is an important thing. So I think that request is one that she should push, and it seems it has not yet been resolved.
But that's what I don't understand. He is involved if he made a statement that it didn't happen. So, Ken, can you help me understand that? Dr. Ford said Mark Judge was in the room. She was well aware that he was not an ally of hers. She was a friend of Brett Kavanaugh's. He decided to go so far as to deny it, but he doesn't want to testify. Can you help me understand why that would be?
Well, I mean, one possibility is that he does not want to be under oath about this, which is very suspicious. But the whole idea that there would be no investigation.
Ken, that's like saying, this didn't happen, but I won't swear that this didn't happen.
Well, exactly, and that's why this is deeply suspicious. And it also seems like malpractice that they're not conducting any kind of investigation here. I mean, as we've talked about before, in the Anita Hill Clarence Thomas matter, there was a 3-day FBI investigation where the FBI went out and interviewed witnesses. And then the committee called 22 witnesses, including 3 people who came and testified that Anita Hill told them at the time that this conduct happened. Now, you're not going to have the same kind of situation in a 30-year-old incident that happened allegedly when they were at school, but you would be able to talk to, for example, Mark Judge and other people who may or may not have heard things, classmates of his and hers, just to get an idea of whether there's any corroboration. None of that has been done, and that seems like a bad idea.
So, Barbara, there's tons of talk out there. Should we be going after what someone did or said when they were 17? People make mistakes, but don't we need to remind the audience this isn't for just some random job? There are 9 Supreme Court justices total, and they sit on the bench for the rest of their lives. So it is very important. And something came out that the dean of Yale Law School, responding to these reports out there, that a professor implied Judge Kavanaugh typically hired model-like clerks. What is this about?
Yeah, I think first, as you say, we're talking about an attempted sexual assault. This was not mischief or horseplay, but a very serious crime for which 17-year-olds are prosecuted, are sent to prison, and must register as sex offenders for the rest of their lives. So it is a serious crime, and I think that much of the discussion has been disturbing in how lightly people seem to take this very serious crime of sexual assault. So that's one thing. The other is, no one's talking about prosecuting him for a crime, although the statute of limitations in Maryland would permit such a prosecution. We're talking instead about whether we want to elevate someone to the privilege and responsibility of overseeing our criminal justice system. This is a job interview. Why should we select you? Why are you qualified to handle this job? And I think someone who has a sexual assault or an attempted sexual assault in their past is not qualified. I also think that someone who lies about that is also not qualified. And so we don't know if those things have happened, but I think the American people deserve a chance to find that out and make that decision. And so this rush to judgment, this we're taking a vote one way or the other next week, suggests to me that these allegations are not being taken as seriously as they should. We should be comfortable with the facts, and we owe it to Judge Kavanaugh so that he can be a legitimate Supreme Court justice, and that his record and his decisions down the road for life will not be tainted.
If he didn't do anything, he certainly does not deserve to have a cloud over him. Christine Ford absolutely does not deserve to have her life threatened. This is a very, very complicated issue, but the American people also deserve to have the best possible Supreme Court justices sit. It's really complicated.
Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here. To watch the latest interviews and highlights, you can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.